shocking truth revealed. Cowboy's amazing promise to save a starving girl and her mother. Lucas felt the sun blaze down on him like a relentless furnace as he saddled up his horse, a daily ritual that felt heavier each morning. The dreams he once had, imagined in bright colors, were dulled by the monotony of survival. The ranch was losing money faster than a cowboy in a poker game, and foreclosure notices kept slipping beneath his door, relentless reminders that he was losing his family's legacy. Today felt different. Each echoing hoofbeat off the dusty roads into Cedar Creek served to amplify the inspection of his own insignificance. As he rode into town, he felt a pressure in his chest, a mix of exhaustion and anxiety. The weight of providing for his 2 young children pressed down harder, making him question his ability to hold it all together. Then he spotted it, a rusted old car parked behind the local grocery store. Inside, a woman sat beside her daughter. Mia's bright eyes glimmered with untamed dreams, even amid dirt-smudged cheeks that spoke of struggles he knew all too well. The mere sight of her stirred a longing deep within him, a reminder of innocence that felt both precious and fragile. When Clara shared their heartbreaking story of medical debts and homelessness, Lucas felt a pang of guilt and empathy collide in his gut. Friends had warned him to look after his own first, yet how could he ignore the suffering of others in pain? His heart raced as he knelt by the car window, heart thundering in his ears. "I'll help you," he promised, yet in the same breath he felt the weight of that commitment tug on him like a stubborn steer. How could he make good on such a pledge? Over the following weeks, Lucas worked grueling shifts at the ranch, sharing meals and laughter with Clara and Mia under the stars, their moments of closeness starkly juxtaposed with the foreboding shadows of their reality. But the ever-tightening vice of the local bank on their town loomed larger, a choking grasp that threatened to break down any fortitude they had. Anguish flooded Lucas as he learned how those who truly needed help were being pushed deeper into despair by a system fueled by dollars, not compassion. One evening, while drawing in the soft glow of firelight, Mia revealed her sketches, raw talent teeming beneath innocent fear. The notion of showcasing her art, of taking her fragile creativity and thrusting it into a harsh world, sent a shudder through him. What if it thrived? What if it failed? Could they take the chance, risking not only her potential, but the fragile bond they'd built in this town? Would it drive a wedge between them, or inspire a chance to rise against the system? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from them.
Channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. With fireworks of anxiety igniting in his stomach, Lucas prepared to confront the bank manager. But each thought felt like a tightrope walk over a chasm of defeat. What might their fight cost him? Could he pull Mia and Clara from the abyss without dragging himself down as well? He hesitated, torn between fear for his family's dignity and the desire to take a stand for those who deserved a chance. Every step toward the bank felt heavier, each breath more labored, as he crossed that threshold into a world of polished wood and indifference. The echoes of despair danced in the air, whispering stories of broken dreams and lost hopes. As Lucas took a deep breath, his resolve hardened. But would that be enough to defy the looming darkness? As Lucas stepped into the bank's cool interior, the stark contrast of the polished marble against the grit of his life hit him. His boots crunched against the texture of perfection beneath him, and he could feel the disapproving eyes of the staff as if they were searching for cracks in his resolve. The bank manager, a man whose demeanor exuded disdain, sat behind an imposing desk, tapping his fingers impatiently on the oak, an unspoken challenge in the air. Somehow, this man personified the weight pressing down on Lucas's heart. Lucas Caldwell, he introduced himself, trying to sound steady, though the tremor in his voice betrayed him. He had rehearsed this moment countless times in front of the mirror, yet reality felt infused with a tangible dread. "I'm here to discuss my loan." The bank manager barely glanced up, focusing instead on the ledger in front of him. "You're behind on payments, Mr. Caldwell. First warning was last month." His voice dripped with feigned concern, the kind of concern that only emphasized a predatory instinct. Lucas's thoughts flickered involuntarily to Clara and Mia. They had pinned their hopes on him, a desperate comfort that had solidified between them. What if he failed them? Was he genuinely prepared to confront this system which he felt had already buried so many like Clara and Mia? "I need more time," he asserted, surprising even himself with the fire behind the words. "The ranch is struggling, but I can turn it around. Just give me a bit more time." He could hear the urgency, the plea in his own tone. It clashed against the sterile environment around him. The manager finally looked up, his expression revealing a flicker of amusement laced with condescension. "It's business, Mr. Caldwell. That's not my problem. If you don't have funds by the end of the month, I'll have no choice but to advance foreclosure proceedings. You know that." Each word was a nail in the coffin of his dreams, blurring the line between resilience and despair. Lucas felt the walls closing in. What if I can present a new plan? I have ideas that could yield profit, generate interest. Let me prove myself. The banker chuckled, the sound hollow. "You're clutching at straws, my friend. You can either pack up or play by the rules." His words left a sour taste in Lucas's mouth. But beneath the indifference, Lucas sensed something deeper, a challenge. "I'll show you," he declared, surprising himself again. Out of desperation surged a newfound determination. The prospect of showcasing Mia's art spun silently in the back of his mind, a flicker amid the oppressive fog of pessimism. He might have missed recognizing the talent hidden in the girl's gentle sketches, but that would change. This bond with Mia could be a bridge to something greater. As he turned to leave, Lucas felt a weight lift ever so slightly. He was ignited by purpose. What if Mia's art could not just embody their struggles, but become their strength? For too long, he had been navigating this world alone, but now he had allies who deserved a fighting chance. "Wait," the bank manager called before Lucas reached the door. "You really think you can turn it around? You're going to need a plan that's worth my time." "Then I'll get it." Lucas's response echoed louder than it had the right to, fueled by adrenaline and the crackling energy of latent ambition. With newfound clarity, Lucas walked out of the bank, his mind racing with ideas. He needed to find a way to elevate Mia's talent, to package it in a way that could help them both. But the clock was ticking, and as he mounted his horse, a thought gnawed at him. How could he balance this heavy burden with the needs of Clara and his own children? The road ahead twisted and turned, but amid the vast uncertainties lay the shimmering light of hope. As he rode toward the ranch, he swore to himself that failure was no longer an option. With each beat of his horse's hooves, he embraced the unfolding journey that would challenge him to reconcile his family's survival with the relentless pursuit of dreams. Those dreams awaited, but as Lucas pushed forward, he felt the shadows of doubt creeping back in. That same fear would always test him. But this was not just about him anymore. He had to believe, for Mia's sake, that something greater was just beyond the horizon. And this time, he wouldn't stop until he reached it.
But as Lucas spotted a familiar silhouette in the distance, standing beside a sketch pad, the question loomed. Would his dreams suffice against the odds stacked ever higher? As Lucas neared the ranch, the sun hung low on the horizon, casting an amber glow across the fields. The sight of Mia,
her sketch pad propped against her knee, initiated a palpable warmth within him that felt both comforting and igniting. He had known from the very beginning that her art transcended mere talent. It was a mirror reflecting their struggles, a raw expression of hope waiting to be harnessed. "Mia," he called, urging his horse closer. She looked up, her eyes brightening with an eagerness that melted his lingering fears. "I need to talk to you about your art." With a mixture of curiosity and trepidation, she put down her pencil, seemingly aware that the depth of his request held more weight than an ordinary chat about sketches. As Lucas dismounted, he felt the weight of the world on his shoulders, yet he knew it was time to rise to the occasion. "Your drawings, they're incredible," he began, struggling to find the right words. "I think they could help us. I believe in them. In you." Mia's hand hovered over her latest sketch, a landscape swirling with colors, embodying undying spirit despite the barren surroundings. "You really think so?" she asked, uncertainty dancing across her features. "I don't just think so, I know so. But we need a plan, something that will catch people's attention, something a banker will take seriously." The mention of the banker brought the tension back into the air. He had to formulate a vision that felt ambitious yet grounded, one that communicated the urgent need for sustainability. Together, they could reshape their fate. "What if we held a local art show?" Mia proposed, the spark of excitement igniting in her voice. "I could showcase my work, and we could invite people to buy pieces or even commission new works." Lucas nodded, backing up her idea with enthusiasm. "Exactly. We can set it up right here on the ranch. It'll be more than just an art show. It will be a showcase of our lives, the lives tied to this land." As they brainstormed, Lucas felt the familiar thrill of planning seep into his veins. Each suggestion they tossed around strengthened his belief in a future he had yet to fully embrace. But debts loomed like shadows at the edges of his mind. Every hopeful thought was countered by reminders of the bank's ultimatum. "I can't rely solely on art," he said, an edge creeping into his voice. "What if the show doesn't generate enough interest? What if the bank refuses to see your work as anything worthwhile?" Mia studied him thoughtfully, understanding his anguish without needing to articulate it. "But what if it does? What if people connect with it? People love stories, Lucas, and we have a story to tell." There was a truth in her words that struck him, the profound potency of their struggles, woven into her vibrant art. Perhaps it was time to confront more than just the bank. It was time to confront the very narratives that had held him prisoner, the whispers of doubt that gnawed at him in quiet moments. "Let's do it," he said, the conviction building within him like a storm. "But we need to prepare. We'll need supplies, promotional materials, and we need to find a way to reach out to people." Mia's face lit up with excitement. Together, they could forge something that would not only fight for their survival, but also weave their broken dreams into a vibrant tapestry of new beginnings. As they strategized, the sky began to darken, stars flickering into existence above them. The impending art show was merely the first step, a mode of rebellion against the constraints imposed on them. Lucas could feel a shift within himself, a recognition that he was awakening from a long slumber, driven by a fire that bore witness to not just survival, but triumph. Yet, even as hope surged through him, the insecurities of the world outside gnawed at his thoughts. What would happen if they failed? The question lingered, doused with the chilling fear of common failures. But as Mia shared her dreams of the show, Lucas felt himself inching closer to confrontation with his own deepest uncertainties. The echoes of a challenge stirred within him. Was he ready to face the collapse within and rise again?
Would he truly embrace not just Mia's art, but the fragile aspirations tethered to their collective future? It dawned on him that this could be his moment to bridge his fractured identity. Father, protector, dreamer, against the bitter odds. And they were just at the beginning, teetering toward a reckoning that could change everything. Yet, just in their stride forward, an unexpected voice erupted from the shadows, slicing through the night's serenity. "What do you think you two are up to?" The unmistakable tone of Clara's brother darkened the atmosphere, bringing with him a sudden tension as Lucas turned to face a looming threat, one that could unravel everything they had just gained. Lucas's heart sank at the confrontation with Clara's brother, dread washing over him in cold waves. The confidence he had drawn from their ambitious plans evaporated in an instant, replaced by the weight of a new, urgent fear. He could sense Mia's uncertainty joining his apprehension, her once bright enthusiasm dulled by the abrupt disruption. "Just discussing a few ideas for the ranch," Lucas replied, conscious of every word as he attempted to mask the tension gnawing at him. He stepped slightly in front of Mia, an instinctual act of protection. Yet, deep inside, he questioned the validity of his stance. Was he really a defender, or merely a man grasping at his last shred of hope? Clara's brother, Tyler, took a step closer, his figure a blend of mockery and disdain. "Art show? Right here?" he scoffed, arms crossed, challenging their fragile ambition with a single dismissive gesture. "Why not?" Mia interjected, her voice steady despite her inner turmoil. "Art has a way of bringing people together, of telling stories that matter. We might just surprise you." Lucas admired her resilience, but felt a flicker of doubt sulking in the corners of his mind. Was this arrogance or bravery? Tyler blinked hard, disbelief etched on his face, sensing her conviction despite the nature of his thrust. "Stories? Too bad your story's written in poverty," Tyler hissed, leaning in, creating palpable air that felt like a chokehold. The truth of what he said stung, and for a moment Lucas felt as if the ground beneath their feet might crumble, taking with it all the plans they'd begun to weave. But as anger brewed within him, Lucas swelled with resolve. If he allowed Tyler to shatter their budding vision, what chance would they have? "This land means something to us," he retorted, words sharpened like the edge of a knife. "You see it as barren. I see potential, and so does Mia." Tyler's laughter echoed, harsh and mocking, but beneath the disdain simmered a challenge. "You think people care about your potential or some art from a starving girl? You'll fail. Everyone just sees dirt here." The conviction behind Tyler's words stung more than the ridicule. Lucas's defenses hardened, questioning how real strength appeared when shackled by fear of failure. After a brief glance at Mia, grounding him with her presence, he realized that the most profound struggle was born from their willingness to fight for their dreams against all odds. "Let them decide," Lucas said, his voice regaining its steadiness. "We're not backing down. We'll put our art out there, and if we fail, then we'll have faced it together. But if—" His voice trailed off, unable to finish the thought. The vision was so much larger now, but he needed to confront the specter of doubt that lingered before him. What would it mean if they didn't just survive through art, but thrived? Tyler's features twisted, caught somewhere between contempt and intrigue. "So you're willing to risk everything for a show?" And in that moment, the conflict within Lucas swirled dangerously. The art show was not just about selling pieces. It was about reclaiming their narrative, a resounding act against every negative whisper that had echoed through his life. It was about rising as their own creators, both in art and in life. "Yes," Lucas declared, igniting with a brazen determination. "And if you're too blind to see it, well, that's your problem." Tyler stepped back, momentarily caught off guard.
The air shifted, but tension remained thick enough to slice through. With a sharp turn, Tyler took a few steps back, contemplating how much he might press the issue. "Enjoy your little dream," he sneered finally. "I'll be there when it all comes crashing down." As his shadow departed, Mia's expression revealed a weight of uncertainty pressing into the space they shared. Deep concern painted across her features. "What if he's right?" she whispered, the softness of her voice betraying her frail confidence. Lucas met her gaze, fear intertwining with rising courage. It was a question he had asked himself countless times before. "Then we learn, Mia, but we won't
Let that stop us. We have to believe. It's not just for us, it's for every dream that's ever been buried." An inner fortitude began to pulse within him, carving paths through doubt, urging him to transform fear into a motivational force. The looming art show was more than a path to financial salvation. It was a crucible forging their identities anew. Suddenly, the crickets chirped louder in the background, carrying an almost ominous promise. This was only the beginning of a battle that would test his commitment to their future. "Tomorrow we start planning and reaching out," he said firmly. But the tension was far from settled. As they resumed their talk, another hesitation gnawed at him. Was he truly ready to battle against external adversities while wrestling with the unraveling insecurities deep inside? And in that moment, as they plotted their course, Lucas understood that he would have to confront not just the outside world, but the darker shadows lurking within himself. In stepping into the light of possibility, the hardest challenge lay ahead, and he would need to face the truths he had long tried to avoid. As thoughts raced, Lucas silently wondered if there was an even more profound revelation waiting just beyond the horizon of their dreams. The sun rose over the ranch, casting long shadows across the land, but Lucas felt heavy with uncertainty. Despite the optimism he tried to project to Mia, a shroud of doubt clung to him. As he sipped his coffee, an ordinary ritual intended to steady his nerves, his thoughts spiraled deeper into the abyss Tyler had opened. The images of their future, bright as they had seemed yesterday, now flickered with the threat of failure. He couldn't afford for Mia to see his unease. She depended on him to keep her spirits high. He thought of her enthusiasm, the spark she had once ignited in their conversations about the art show. There was a challenge now. How could he nurture that flame when his own light felt so dim? As he gazed out over the expanse of land awaiting transformation, he realized he was standing at a crossroads, not just for the ranch, but for his entire existence. Determined to shake off his self-doubt, Lucas grabbed a notebook and began drafting a list of potential artists and performers to involve in their project. As each name flowed onto the page, purpose surged within him. There was power in action, a truth he hadn't fully embraced before. He could see a network forming, a community of creativity, however fragile, starting with their dreams. "Collaboration," he murmured, realizing that perhaps he had approached this too much as a solitary endeavor. The art show needed leverage. It needed a collective vision, and they had to draw others in, not just to amplify their voices, but to fortify their own. He needed to convince Mia they were embarking on a collective mission of self-discovery, one that would combine their strengths and skills. Later that morning, he met Mia in the open field, the vastness of sky above mirroring the challenges that lay ahead. "I've been thinking," he began, straining to maintain confidence, "we need to reach out to other artists, local performers." Her brows furrowed, the hint of skepticism evident in her eyes. "What if they're not interested? Or worse, what if they mock us like Tyler?" "Then we make them curious," Lucas countered, invoking a competitive spirit. "Let's show them what we envision. I want to turn our vulnerability into our strength. If they see that this place is alive with potential, and that we're not afraid to reclaim it, maybe they'll want in." Mia took a breath, weighing his words. A flicker of hope crossed her features, and with it, Lucas felt a glimmering connection reignite. "You really believe we can do this?" "I have to believe it," he responded earnestly. "For us, for everyone who has ever felt dismissed. We can turn our story around, make them see the beauty in what we're creating." As they brainstormed potential collaborators, Lucas pushed through the tendency to dwell on past failures. With each idea shared, he could feel the walls around them begin to soften, as though possibility was oozing through cracks in their doubt. Mia's excitement began to bubble over, her ideas flowing freely, infectious energy crackling in the air between them. But as they crafted a plan, the specter of Tyler loomed in Lucas's mind. He had brushed aside the rival's taunts, yet the seeds of comparison began sprouting in the corners of his psyche. What if every step they took was a step leading them closer to disaster? It wasn't just fear of failure, it was fear of what that failure would reveal about him. "Lucas?" Mia's voice jolted him from his spiraling thoughts. "What's wrong?" He hesitated before speaking, uncomfortable with the vulnerability. "What if we pour everything into this and it falls apart? What does that say about us? About me?" "Everyone starts with doubt," she replied, her tone firm yet gentle. "But those who dare to act despite it, they're the ones who create change." Lucas felt a new weight settle in his chest, one that felt like resolution. The truth she spoke began to crystallize within him. This endeavor was never just about their dreams. It was about rising from the ashes of self-doubt. More than wanting to prove something to Tyler, it was about embracing who he wanted to be. As they mapped out their next steps, Lucas encountered a transformative realization. He could be the architect of his own narrative. And perhaps, just perhaps, he could guide others to see the beauty within their own stories, too. Their planning session extended into the evening, the sun sinking slowly in a blaze of color, brimming with unspoken possibilities. A renewed sense of hope coursed through Lucas. Yet the closer he got to stepping fully into this role, the more life seemed to press in. Would he find the strength to step beyond his fears, or would he falter at the precipice of this new chapter? With the evening chill settling in, the darkness beyond their project loomed larger, as unrecognized as their potential still might be. In that moment, Lucas recognized with clarity that next steps wouldn't just challenge their ambitions, they would unravel his deepest insecurities, even if he wasn't sure he was ready to unpack them just yet. As the day faded to night, Lucas pondered the stakes. Everything was riding on their capacity to confront not just their external adversities, but the nagging doubts within themselves. And the question hung heavily: would courage born from belief be enough to see them through the storm ahead? The morning sun broke over the horizon with a persistence that demanded movement, and Lucas knew he couldn't stay entangled in uncertainty. As he sipped his coffee, its warmth seeped into him, sparking a fire he hadn't realized he still possessed. They were not just embarking on an art project, they were daring to venture into the heart of their aspirations, and he needed to embody the strength he wanted Mia to see in him. In the solitude of his thoughts, clarity emerged like the dawn light spreading across the fields. It wasn't enough to curate a list of artists. He had to strategically engage each one, to ignite conversations that could anchor their vision. He pulled out his notebook again, remapping their initial ideas with clarity and intent. This was about connection, and every name he noted deserved consideration, each one a potential doorway to something vibrant and beautiful. With newfound resolve, he moved to the barn where Mia was sorting out supplies. His heart raced as he approached her. This meeting was not just about planning, it was about galvanizing commitment. "Mia, I've been thinking, we need to really sell this vision to our artists. Let's craft a narrative, one that resonates with them just like it does with us," he said, the excitement infusing his voice with urgency. She looked up, curiosity replacing her initial hesitation. "What do you mean?" "I want to tell our stories," Lucas continued, feeling the words flow. "Let's gather their stories too, the struggles and triumphs that brought us here. If we can show them how much this project could mean, not just for us, but for them too, they'll see the value in joining our mission." Her eyes widened. "You think that would work?" "Absolutely." The conviction in his voice felt like an anchor. Artists are drawn to authenticity. If they see our passion and our vulnerability, they will want to share in it. For the first time, he noticed a shift in her posture, an encouraging spark of confidence. "Okay, let's do it. I can start reaching out to the local artists and maybe even some magazines to amplify our message." As she began to organize her thoughts, Lucas experienced an unfamiliar sense of ease wash over him. He realized the project didn't solely rest on his
shoulders. They were building something together, and that shared ownership was incredibly liberating. The prospect of rejection still gnawed at him, but now it felt more manageable knowing they were doing this together. The day passed quickly, filled with phone calls, discussions, and sketches of ideas. They spent the afternoon mapping out how they could present their vision to the artists they wanted to invite. Lucas felt the pulse of his ambitions quicken. That evening, as they sat on the porch overlooking the ranch, Lucas glanced at Mia, her enthusiasm palpable in the fading light. "What will we do if we face backlash? What if we get turned down by everyone?" Mia leaned forward, her gaze locked onto his. "Then we pivot and we find another way. But we can't surrender to fear before it happens. We can only focus on what we can control, our commitment to this project and each other." Her words struck him deeply. He understood now that beyond the challenge of engaging others lay the challenge within himself, a confrontation of fear that long ago threatened to hold him captive. It wasn't merely the idea of failure that haunted him, it was the notion of allowing doubt to dictate his path. Suddenly, Lucas felt a weight shift, as if he were shedding skin. He considered the potential of their collaboration, the beauty of vulnerability, and the strength that could stem from it. Each artist they approached, every story shared, and each rejection faced could lead to resilience and growth. "Maybe this project isn't just about art," he mused aloud. "Maybe it's helping us reconnect with ourselves through the stories we tell." Mia nodded thoughtfully, her expression a mixture of concern and excitement. "But what if we uncover more about ourselves than we're ready to face?" Lucas met her gaze, the intensity of the moment deepening. "Then we face it together. We unravel the yarns of our lives, and we strengthen each other in the process." With each passing moment, the realization hung between them, a delicate balance of fear and hope, doubt and belief. The cracks they had chipped away at within themselves revealed something raw and promising. But beneath this fervor, Lucas sensed the shadows of their endeavors. Unbeknownst to them, the next step would force them to confront something much darker. Would they emerge triumphant, or would the ghosts of their pasts demand an unsettling reckoning? As the stars began to flicker in the evening sky, the weight of their aspirations coalesced into a single question that loomed overhead. How far would they go to unveil the truth they both sought to express? The next morning dawned with an urgency Lucas hadn't felt in years. His morning ritual of coffee felt different now. Each sip was mingled with anticipation. He was stepping into the ring, not merely a bystander, but a contender for his future and Mia's vision. It wasn't about just creating art, it was about transformation. He wrote in his notebook with a fervor, sketching out possible narratives, weaving in the threads of vulnerability. Each stroke carried a weight. It was both a promise to himself and a challenge to embrace the unknown. By mid-morning, Lucas found himself seated at a tense cafe table, laptop open, staring at a blank email template addressed to an established artist whose work had influenced him. Normally, the thought of reaching out would fill him with hesitation. Today, however, the fear of failure was eclipsed by something larger, his resolve to transform vulnerability into connection. He drafted a message that felt honest, no grandiosity, just a simple invitation to share in their journey. As he pressed send, he felt a flush of adrenaline. The act was liberating, almost exhilarating. There was a lesson in every email he sent, a dance between hope and fear. Each rejection would be a step closer to understanding the dynamics of courage and creativity. But Lucas wasn't just collecting names. He was seeking to bridge the intangible gap between aspiration and reality. Mia's enthusiasm had become infectious. They started inviting artists to a casual gathering, not a presentation, but an intimate exchange. Lucas felt a shift in their energy. Each contact felt more like a collaboration rather than a transaction. They were evoking shared stories, aspirations, and, perhaps more critical, fears. Lucas sensed that their narrative was forming organically in the shared breaths of these discussions, each exchange solidifying their mission. Yet, as more artists responded with interest, Lucas felt the weight of escalating expectations. What if he wasn't enough to guide this venture into fruition? What if they ventured too far and fell short? Sleep evaded him, replaced by spirals of self-doubt. It gnawed at his mind and whispered incessantly, testing the boundaries of his bravado. One evening, as he lay awake in bed, his thoughts spiraled deeper down the rabbit hole of uncertainty. Mia had invested so much trust in him. The idea of letting her down began to trouble him like a persistent shadow. In confronting his own insecurities, he recognized the common thread, fear of inadequacy. Determined to harness this anxiety, Lucas attended a local artist seminar on the power of storytelling in art. Sitting in the audience, absorbing perspectives from seasoned artists, he felt his resolve revitalize. Each artist on stage peeled back layers of their own vulnerabilities, revealing the raw challenges behind their masterpieces. They spoke candidly about the doubts that clawed at their minds, tales of failed projects and anguished self-reflection. Lucas scribbled notes furiously, realizing that their struggles echoed his own, and with that recognition, he felt a shift within him. Art is not about hiding insecurities, but revealing them, allowing others to see the beauty in the unrefined. This was the message he yearned to embody, one where imperfections became narratives, and every adverse experience became a stepping stone. Arriving home later, his heart raced with purpose. He approached Mia, who was organizing notes on the living room floor. What if?
It a step further? Let's invite them to share their personal journeys at our gathering. Not just about their art, but their lives, the messiness, the failures, the breakthroughs. Mia's smile glowed in the dim light, igniting a spark in him. Are you sure we can handle that kind of openness? Lucas paused, recalling the artist's confessions he had just heard. If we're going to lead a project built on authenticity, we must leave space for all of it, the uncomfortable parts too. As they began to map out how to approach the artists with a more vulnerable tone, a sense of clarity settled within him. But beneath the buoyancy of their newfound direction lay a lingering unease, a ticking clock, echoing and reminding him of the deeper fears buried under his aspirations. Just as he began to feel the weight of responsibility transform into empowerment, a flash of doubt crept back in, whispering reminders of past efforts that had faltered. The challenge of their upcoming gathering loomed ahead, raising the stakes significantly. Was he prepared to delve deeper into the narratives that could potentially expose everything he was afraid of? As the evening rolled into night, Lucas stood at the precipice of something monumental, ready to confront the truth that had remained precariously close, yet out of reach. And as he prepared to leap, he felt that familiar question surge inside him. Could he articulate his own story without surrendering to the ghosts of his past? This was the moment of truth, one that would demand every ounce of bravery he possessed. The air felt electric as the day of the gathering approached. Lucas stood in front of the bathroom mirror, steel blue eyes reflecting his inner tumult. The familiar doubt returned with palpable force, a whisper echoing deeper than before. What if no one connected? What if his vulnerable invitation fell flat? Each concern compounded itself into a mountain he feared he might never climb. But today was not just another day. Today he felt the weight of purpose and aspiration. Mia had been tireless. She had rehearsed her own narrative, poised to unveil not just her art, but her own story of struggle and resilience. "This is part of our commitment, Lucas," she had said, her voice steadying him in moments of uncertainty. "If we're going to create a space for honesty, we have to embody that honesty ourselves." He admired her for it, even if it magnified the shadow of his own insecurities. The gathering commenced in their modest apartment, an unobtrusive haven transformed into an intimate space of creativity. As artists began to trickle in, Lucas's heart raced. The inviting aroma of coffee mingled with nervous laughter, forming an atmosphere that wavered between excitement and trepidation. He exchanged nods and warm smiles. Each interaction tugged at both his anticipation and anxiety, his hands clammy against the edges of the table. "Hey everyone, thank you for coming," Mia's voice rang out, strong and inviting. Lucas stepped back slightly, drawn into her.
Warmth, but it was now his turn to face the room. As he grasped the edges of the table, he willed himself forward, feeling the ripples of everyone's gaze upon him. "Thank you for joining us," he began, hesitating as he searched for the right words. Was now the right time to unveil his own truth? "Tonight's a bit different. We want to explore the narratives that connect us, not just as artists, but, well, as people." His pulse quickened as he continued. "We want to allow our experiences, the messy, painful ones, to breathe." He felt a flicker of relief as he saw some heads nodding, encouragement wrapped in those silent gestures. It was a breath of validation in a space where he had dared to be open. One by one, artists shared stories steeped in vulnerability. The painter spoke of her mother's struggle with addiction. The sculptor recounted the bleakness of a failed exhibition. Lucas listened, rapt and unnerved, as fragments of their lives unfolded like petals. As he absorbed their tales, a realization began to crystallize within him. Each artist did not only wrestle with hardship, they navigated the beautiful chaos of existence. It sparked something deep in Lucas, a recognition of his own story layered beneath self-doubt. In their narratives, he unearthed the courage to reclaim his voice. When the moment came for him to speak, he could feel a lump catching in his throat. "My story isn't easy," he said, words tumbling out like marbles, awkward yet earnest. "I've spent too long fearing I wasn't enough. I always saw vulnerability as a weakness. But tonight, I want to share that it has borne the most important connection I've ever felt, through Mia and through all of you." As he spoke, he unlocked channels of emotion buried in darkness. The fear shifted, no longer a suffocating weight, but rather a conduit for genuine connection. As he revealed his struggles, the room crackled with empathy and solidarity. It felt liberating, and with each word he bound his story to theirs, creating a tapestry of shared humanity. But just as he thought he was gaining footing, a stray thought intruded, the lingering voice of doubt that clawed at his confidence. Did his vulnerability come off as mere theatrics? Would his truth hold weight beyond the fragile safety of this gathering? The specter of judgment hovered, the fear that his revelations might be perceived as mere cries for validation gnawed persistently. As the evening unfolded with heartfelt exchanges, Lucas felt the tide of connection rising. Yet an undercurrent of anxiety remained, the challenge of maintaining this newfound openness weighing heavily. Just as the gathering reached its emotional crescendo, Lucas recognized something profound shared among them. Vulnerability, once perceived as an anchor holding him back, had turned into the wind beneath his wings. But as the last laugh faded and more whispers of reality surfaced, he was acutely aware that he hadn't yet confronted a crucial adversary, his reflection in the mirror that revealed
his true self. With that realization settling in his chest, Lucas contemplated the next steps. The evening had awakened something transformative within him, but it triggered a critical question. How would he confront his own demons now that the art of vulnerability was becoming part of his identity? The answer loomed like a precipice waiting to be explored. As the evening concluded and the last remnants of laughter echoed through the room, Lucas felt a familiar tension building within him. The warmth of connection lingered like the afterglow of a bright flame, but shadows of doubt crept into the corners of his mind. His heart pounded as he realized that the moment of truth he had just shared was merely the prelude to a deeper confrontation, one that he would have to face not with others, but with himself. The conversations dwindled, leaving behind gentle hums of reflection and sighs of contentment. Mia, noticing Lucas's withdrawn posture, approached him. "You did well," she said softly, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You shouldn't underestimate the power of your words." Her encouragement ignited a swell of gratitude within him, but also an unsettling acknowledgement that his journey was far from complete. "I don't know if it was enough," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I feel like I just scratched the surface." Mia tilted her head, her eyes sparkling with understanding. "That's okay. Vulnerability isn't a one-time performance. It's a practice, a way of living." Her words resonated deeply, but Lucas felt the weight of an unexamined truth pressing down on him. What practice could he adopt that would bridge the distance between who he was in that moment and the man he aspired to become? The question haunted him as he helped Mia clean up the remnants of their gathering, feeling the collective energy dissipate like mist in the morning sun. Later that night, after the last artist had departed, Lucas sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the wall where Mia had hung a piece of her art, a vibrant portrayal of a tree twisting toward the sky. In it, he recognized his own yearning for growth. But what rooted him down, disrupting this aspiration, were the whispers of self-doubt that had lounged for too long in his psyche. The vulnerability he had exercised that evening opened a path, yet the terrain ahead felt riddled with perilous obstacles. He knew he needed to confront the skepticism that had long defined his self-identity. Gathering courage, he grabbed a sketchbook and pencil, determined to document his feelings, to outline the dark folds of his thoughts. The scribbles transformed into sentences, and soon Lucas found himself reflecting on key moments from his past that shaped his identity. What fears had held him back? What judgments paralyzed his ability to embrace his authentic self? The more he explored, the more clarity dawned. Fragments of his childhood, floods of laughter, were tainted with reproach. Moments when he was told to be more, be
tighter, stay in line. The decisions of those moments built a fragile foundation of who he had become. Deep within these reflections, Lucas uncovered a truth that had been dormant. He had the power to rewrite this narrative. Perhaps the very flaws he had perceived were the building blocks of his identity. But how could he bring that realization into his everyday existence? His heart felt a tremor of uncertainty at the thought of presenting this updated self to the world. Would vulnerability still be welcomed, or would it feel like a tarnished coin, a currency of fear? As dawn slowly enveloped the apartment in soft light, Lucas resolved to confront his fears head-on. It was not enough to share his story once. He needed to integrate it into his life. Each day required a commitment to engage with his vulnerability, not just for himself, but as a promise to those around him. The notion felt daunting yet invigorating, like standing at the edge of a precipice ready to leap. But just as he envisioned the journey before him, a gut-wrenching thought invaded his resolve. In committing to this newfound honesty, would he invite judgment from those who had once scorned his authenticity? The essence of growth often dwelled in the unknown, and Lucas was barely catching his breath amid rising tides.
As he stared outside, watching the sun peeking through the clouds, he understood that the next steps would demand exploration. His resolve to learn and evolve needed to become an unyielding promise, despite the looming specter of adversity. The horizon ahead crackled with possibility, even as uncertainty lingered at its edges. With a fresh determination settling within him, Lucas stood tall, stretched his arms out, and embraced the morning air. The next chapter beckoned, conjured by a choice he hadn't yet made. Would he dig deeper into his vulnerabilities and invite the judgment, or find a way to transform it into strength? The choice was his to ponder, and the moment had come to face the unknown head-on. Lucas stood on the ranch, watching the sun gradually scale the sky. Today he felt an unfamiliar sense of ownership over his dreams. It was time to reveal the culmination of not just his commitments to others, but to himself, a revelation that had been brewing in the dark crevices of doubt. He had come a long way from the man crushed under the weight of survival, and now, as the shadows dissipated under the rising sun, he finally felt ready to step into the light of success. The art show had come together, a manifestation of not only Mia's creativity, but of every struggle they had faced as a family. Each piece hung like a testament to resilience, illuminating the lives of those who had often been overlooked despite their potential. The event was not just about art, it was a declaration, a testament to the stories that intertwined the path of each individual present. "I can't believe we did it," Mia exclaimed, eyes sparkling. As they set up the final touches in the barn transformed into a gallery, Lucas glanced at the small crowd gathering outside. It was always going to happen, he reassured her, his newfound confidence resonating in his voice. "You've poured your heart into this, and so have we all." With every artist they had connected with over the weeks, the atmosphere became electric. Tales of heartache intertwined with whispers of hope, creating a space for everyone to come alive. Lucas felt an undercurrent of gratitude surge within him. This moment represented the convergence of his and Mia's journey, an intersection of aspiration and authenticity reshaping their lives. As he stood by the entrance welcoming guests, a familiar face materialized. Tyler. Immediate tension coiled in Lucas' stomach, but as he took in the sights of the art show that he had once scoffed at, Lucas felt something surprising: empathy. "Interesting crowd," Tyler remarked, his tone somewhat begrudging, yet revealing the intrigue he felt toward the colorful display of creativity that was now just within reach. "More than interesting, this is powerful," Lucas replied, surprising himself with the firmness of his voice. Witnessing Tyler's softened attitude allowed him to recognize how far he had come in shaping his narrative. What once felt like a threat now felt like an opportunity for recognition. Through the evening, Lucas spoke with guests, artists, and supporters, bolstering their dreams while sharing the rich, interconnected stories behind each piece. Conversations flowed effortlessly, each comment a brushstroke painting a clearer picture of their shared determination. In those moments, vulnerability felt like a shield, earning respect instead of ridicule. As the night progressed, Lucas found himself standing next to Mia. A wall of visitors encased them, but amidst the lively chatter, he felt an urgent need to voice a transformative truth festering inside of him. "Mia," he said, visibly trembling with excitement, "we did this together. This is what it feels like to chase dreams and have them realized." Her eyes locked onto his, the depth of their connection palpable. "I never would have pushed without you," she replied, sincerity unearthing an understanding deeper than words could convey. Finally, embracing the gracious energy ebbing through the space, Lucas stepped forward, garnering attention from the crowd. "Thank you all for being here tonight. This show isn't just a presentation of art. It's a pulse of our combined experiences and our refusal to let fear dictate our choices. Every piece you see here represents struggles transformed into strength, hope meshed into reality.
His heartbeat thudded in his chest as he glanced at Mia and those who had gathered around him. We invite you not just to witness our journey, but to reflect on your own challenges. Each of us carries stories within, and together we can shine a light on what has often felt so dark. Applause erupted, reverberating in the air like echoes of their struggles being recognized. For the first time, Lucas felt the exhilarating embrace of acceptance
that had eluded him for far too long. As the warmth washed over him, he finally understood that this was about far more than just selling art. It was about claiming their identities amidst turmoil. As the last pieces of art found homes and hearts within the community, Lucas's thoughts flickered to the future. They were no longer defined solely by what they had lost. Their triumph emerged not just from the art they created, but from the bonds they had forged. In that, something profound anchored itself within him, weaving strength to confront the inevitable challenges ahead. As the night drew to a close, Lucas marveled at the delicate fabric of hope he had created, enriched by the power of connection and shared storytelling. "Tomorrow is a new day," he whispered to Mia as they savored the remnants of success together. "And we'll keep writing this story." With solid confidence nestled comfortably in his heart, Lucas walked into what would be his next chapter, ready to embrace whatever awaited him. He had proved something vital to himself that night. He would not let his past define him. Instead, he would conquer each challenge that dared to come next. Now, don't miss this opportunity to uplift your own journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to ensure you catch the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and share the inspiration while it's fresh. Comment below with your reactions and theories about how you think Lucas's journey could continue. And you need to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support and help uplift others through the power of stories. Don't wait even one more second.